But what happened was he went to ECW, and I think that was the perfect place for him to really showcase his loose cannon gimmick. But during that time between WCW and ECW, I even still remember it as an 11-year-old back then. Everybody was talking about this, who was smart to the business. Was it a work or was it not a work? Brian's whole gimmick was about that. You never knew what was real or what was fake about the loose cannon Brian Pillman. He was phenomenal at fooling the fans. He was a master of psychology in his gimmick. And he ran with this thing all the way to ECW. Now, I didn't see a lot of this ECW stuff. I read a lot of it in Pro Wrestling Illustrated, The Wrestler, a lot of the Smart Mark. I won't say Smart Mark. At the time, it was still a kayfabe publication with a little bit of more edge to it of trying to please the Smart Marks too, with the rumors and gossip and whatnot. But I didn't necessarily know the impact he really had on ECW until recently, when the WWE 24/7 stuff started to emerge. You can really see that Brian Pillman had, he was way ahead of his time on a lot of stuff that he was doing. Antagonizing Shane Douglas, who recently had come back from his stint in WWE, saying that he was going to piss on the ring. Saying that, you know, that he's going to take his fly out and he's going to roll it, he's going to sling his jut around the ring post. He was a loose cannon. But the thing about Brian Pillman, you didn't know if that crap was real or fake. And Brian was a master at that, and I applaud him for doing that. And eventually, I think he was going to go to WWE. I'm not necessarily back to WCW. And if he didn't have that horrific car accident, which would really plague him for the rest of his life in regards to him taking painkillers and a lot of prescription medicine, it really just messed up his entire body. And he was never the same athlete anymore. I remember watching a press conference with him in the WWE headquarters when he had announced that he was going to the WWE. You could see a frail individual, and he did not look like the Brian Pillman that I always knew. And he basically took Brian about a full year in order to even come back to the industry in a wrestling capacity. And that was really, really disappointing. Even as a kid growing up, 11, 12-year-old growing up, I knew that that was a big blow to the business, because Brian Pillman's gimmick, just imagine Eric Bischoff saying to Brian Pillman, hey, leave and go to ECW for a while. Go in incognito. Don't tell about anybody about anything. And come back to WCW, and we're going to refresh your gimmick after you have left the Horsemen. And by the way, there was really no explanation about him leaving the Horsemen. It just was like blah. And then Steve McMichael comes in. But nevertheless, Brian Pillman, it was basically, you know, Brian Pillman, you leave for 6 months and you come back. But that never happened. And just imagine if Brian didn't get in that accident and he goes to the WWE. Just think about the potential that could have emerged right there. WWE needed an edge in 1996. And they really didn't get it until Stone Cold Steve Austin's character emerged. That was their first real true edgy character in a long time. Brian Pillman would have added to that. The Attitude Era could have started a little bit earlier. Who knows what would have happened? But I think Brian Pillman, an uninjured Brian Pillman in WWE in late 1996, that's something to really think about. That could have been something extremely special. So, you know, take the time to really think about the what ifs right there. But nevertheless, he comes into the WWE. He has a short feud with Steve Austin. They kind of rekindle the Hollywood blonde magic that they had working together. Austin basically cripples Brian's knee. They incorporate Brian's auto injury into the angle. Brian's gone from WWE television for quite some time after that, until he eventually comes back in a capacity with the Hart Foundation in 1997. And it was basically a reunion for Brian Pillman and the Harts from his stint in the Stampede Wrestling organization in 1986 through 1989, a 3-year run up there. And it did make sense, but I don't think the WWE could have been a lot better. They could have done a lot better describing Brian Pillman's role with the Hart Foundation. Because I always had the sense that a lot of people around me was like saying, why in the world is Brian Pillman around the Hart Foundation? Well, I don't think the WWE educated the fans enough, thoroughly enough in regards to Brian's importance with that faction. And that he did belong, he did fit, but I think he just had to explain it a lot more. But I thought that was an interesting facet with his career. He was not the same Brian Pillman, though. That was not the same loose cannon that we had saw. But I don't think we could ever forget it. I mean, I think I skipped something really, really important that I will eventually discuss on the third part in regards to his time in the WWE. But nevertheless, he's with the Hart Foundation, and you know, he has a really good run up there. Continues his angle with Steve Austin. Eventually transitions into an angle with Goldust prior to him passing away in October of 1997. I remember it like it was yesterday. It was during the Bad Blood pay-per-view, the pre-show, a matter of fact. I was watching the free-for-all and the see Vincent Man's face, and hearing that Rick Rude, the late great Rick Rude, was really shooken up about it. Really, really hard to dissect. I was in 7th grade at the time, and that's a lot what we were talking about Brian Pillman's death. It was really hard to watch that pay-per-view after hearing that news. But thank goodness for The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels for giving us a really good Hell in a Cell match that really put away a lot of our, at least momentarily, the thoughts about Brian Pillman. And as well as the induction of the several St. Louis legends by Jim Ross. That was a really good moment right there. But nevertheless, that was pretty much it for the chronological portion of the Paradyme, of this edition of the Paradyme in regards to Brian Pillman. I'm going to come back after this short clip that's coming up real soon, and I'm going to discuss some of my favorite Brian Pillman matches, as well as some of my favorite Brian Pillman moments. I know it went a little overboard, but this is a special edition of the Paradyme, and it's intended to go overboard because I want to get a lot of my perspective off my chest in regards to the late great Brian Pillman, because I think he deserves it, and I think it's time that we start looking at Brian Pillman for the contributions that he gave to the industry, as well as the several different innovations for a guy of his size, his heart, and his courage in this industry gave to the industry. But nevertheless, check out this package. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll be coming back to discuss my favorite matches and my favorite moments in the loose cannon Flying Brian's career. So check it out, and I hope you enjoy it.